look, they're going 4 wide to 5 wide, but they're side by side. Connor is sideways, absolutely sideways for the last few corners. Oh, but he's up in the gravel and he spins. Rob has made a bit of a dive. It actually hits teammate Craig, and so they've all got stuck in the gravel. And Joe gets the switch back. That's fantastic racing. Look at that. Contact, but it's Robbins Racing. Joe McCall takes his first ever win just ahead of Connor. A fantastic race. He's going to take 6th, or is it? Oh, he just gets him. And is Darren going to take it? No, he doesn't. Mark Nichol takes the race. Josh is the Independence champion for Season 3. Craig Kellett is your Season 3 winner and champion. Hello and welcome to the KTTC Online Touring Car Series. My name is Tom, and as always I'll be your commentator. I'll also be joined by Josh Hardy as a guest commentator for Season 4, who will join me later on. A fantastic 29 car grid entered for Season 4, which meant that naturally we had to do something about the league, as unfortunately only 16 cars can enter into one lobby. So what we decided to do was make a qualifying session for all the teams that entered, and to split them into 2 groups, Group A and Group B, and here's how it panned out. A season qualifying evening session was set up for all 29 entrants, and the teams would compete together around Brands Hatch. 5 laps practice and 5 laps to qualify. The car was a non-eligible Group 4 car and was randomly drawn to be the Dodge Viper on the night. Each of the competitors had their own fastest lap, which would be put together to make a team time, and obviously the team times were put into the groups. The fastest 8 teams would be into Group A and the slowest 8 into Group B, to allow for a competitive season for both groups. So let's have a look and see how the groups ended up and who has entered into Group A. Group A had a 15 car entry list with 8 teams, and only one of those teams being a 1 car entry. So let's have a look to see who's in what team and what car for Season 4. Elliott Racing return as title champions in the drivers and the teams titles for the 2nd consecutive season, but have switched to the Ford Mustang after having the Nissan GTR for 2 straight seasons. Rob Pellet and Craig Kellett return and will of course head for the triple if they can, but can anyone stop them in Season 4? KTTC Racing return in the familiar red, white and blue livery, but have switched to a 2-car Renault Megane team after just 1 season in the Ford Mustang due to the regulation changes. Kieran Thomas and Tom Foster have returned of course, and will be heading for the team's title after Tom only did half the season in Season 3. K&N Fox Racing return with an updated name and a brand new sponsor, and have switched to the VW Scirocco. Mike Kuipers and Mark Nichol return as a team once again, and have decided to go with a fantastically bright blue and pink livery. Team Redeem Motorsports is a name that you won't recognise, but of course Darren Parker and Harry Cook, they're a team that teamed up in Season 3 under DC Motorsports. The name change is due to a massive sponsorship deal with Redeem, and of course Darren Parker narrowly missed out on the title, and the team itself missed out on the team's title, so for Season 4 they're going for the win. HB Motorsports returned for a 2nd season in the Hyundai Genesis with a retro-inspired Nissan Primera livery from the late 90s. Joe Burrows and Stephen Heath will have the slight advantage of having the Hyundai Genesis in Season 3 and in Season 4, as they are one of very few people to continue on with the same car. Team Snap-on make their first entry into the official teams list, as they had a trial entry in Season 3 in a BMW M4. Joe McCall and Luke Knox stick around but have switched to the Nissan GTR and hope to get a good first season as a proper team. MCR Storm is a brand new team to enter, which is Gary Black teaming up with newcomer Mike Comer for the first time. So these two hoping to get at least a good set of results early in the days. Mike Comer is one to watch as well, as he has previously raced in Mazda MX-5 Cups. Team Speedy Motorsport is the last team entry on the list then, with Alex McCready being the only single car team entry on the list. He's decided to take the Lexus RCF off the hands of Gary Black from Season 2 to see what he can do early in Season 4, and could potentially team up with someone else as a newcomer late into the season. We start the brand new season here at sunny Monza for round 1, which is the traditional start of the KTTC Touring Car Series since it begun. The 2.6 mile circuit will be 10 laps, as it has been reduced due to the new regulations of balance of performance, which equalises the car's performance across the race. In terms of the tyre ballast situation, hards have been removed in favour of mediums and softs only, and will still be for the top 6 in the championship, but will only be required to be worn for just one race rather than all 3. In the entry list for the first race here at Monza, it's a 14 car grid because unfortunately Mike Kuipers is the only one who is unable to make the race for K&N Fox Racing, so they will be 1 car down. The rest will be in their 2 car teams, except from Alex McCready, who is running a 1 car team only at the moment. So let's have a little look, see how qualifying turned out, and see how we have our first grid looking. Okay, here's your first grid then for the season. A fantastic first pole position for Gary Black in the MCR Storm VW Scirocco next to the HP Motorsports Hyundai Genesis of Joe Burrows. Row 2 is Mark Nicol in the K&N Fox Racing VW Scirocco next to Craig Kellett in the first of the Elliott Racing Ford Mustangs. Row 3 is Team Redeem Motorsports of Darren Parker in the Mazda Atenza next to Kieran Thomas in the Renault Megane for KTTC Racing. Row 4 is the other KTTC Racing Renault Megane of Tom Foster next to the second of the HP Motorsports Hyundai Genesis of Stephen Heath. Row 5 is Joe McCall in the Nissan GTR for Team Snap-on next to Harry Cook in the second of the Team Redeem Mazdas. Row 6 is the other Team Snap-on Nissan of Luke Knox next to Alex McCready, the newcomer in the Lexus RCF. And at the back row of the grid is Rob Pellet in the Elliott Racing Ford Mustang, and also the other MCR Storm VW Scirocco of Mike Comer has a last minute pull out, unfortunately, because of technical issues. Okay then, it's the first race of the season. I'm joined here by Josh.
How are you doing?
We've got Gary Black on the front row of the grid, and away they go. It's a poor start for a few of them, but a great start from Craig there. So down into the first chicane. So Craig's got Gary behind him, and the HB Motorsports of Heathy is just in front of Darren into 4th. Mark is 5th. Joe is 6th. And the 2 Nissan GTRs.
How close this is. It's going to be a messy second chicane.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's Mark Nicol, who's
that side by side.
So Gary is just on the back end of Craig. Now, early reports are saying that the front-wheel drive cars are pretty strong when it comes to this new balance of performance regulation that's been put into place. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And that's one of the KTTC Renaults going off at the back there. And that looks like, I think that might have been Tom, who's just behind Joe. So things are quite settled so far. The 2 Nissans of Snap-on Joe and Luke running in 8th and 9th, Kieran in 10th. The newcomer Alex McCready in 11th in his Lexus. It's actually the only Lexus in the whole entire series, so it'll be interesting to see how that does. Rob Pellet at the back with Harry Cook. So quite a surprise to see them so far down the back. Oh, there's Rob, who's gone on the inside of Alex, and that's a bit of a robust push. Yeah, but it was great.
He looked for it and he pulled it off. Amazing from Rob. See if he can keep this position. He's got Harry close on him.
So
can Harry push his way up to 12?
So even right at the back, they're fighting very, very close here. And that Lexus looks like it's got quite quick in the straight lines. As he quite comfortably pulls in front of Harry, and Alex now looking to see if he can get up and past Rob. A little bit of a push, and that chicane is mega tight, so it can be quite difficult. And some of the guys, especially in that massive Lexus, is more like the size of a tank. It can be quite difficult for the guys to get around that quite safely. So at the moment, all looking pretty close. The two Renaults running close together now, Kieran and Tom.
Could be working together to catch up to whoever's in front of us, 4th and 5th. So that would be both Daz Parker and someone else. I'm not too sure. It looks like Kieran's just putting away a little bit now.
It's a bit of
the dirt?
Someone. It's I think it's Heafy. Yeah, so Heafy was off in the grass, so I think he's going to drop down behind Darren now. So potentially the Renaults could catch up. And it's all about the slipstream here at Monza. So no doubt that the two Renaults will work together to try and catch up with the rest of them. Let's have a look at the front then. There's Gary, who's comfortably in the lead, and he got his first pole position, and he's leading for this first race. So it could be a sign of things to come with Gary at the moment.
At the moment, we're wondering, can Gary get his first win for the KTTC series? Would be amazing for him. Hasn't had a bad run. I think it was season 2 or season 3. It was the Lexus.
The Lexus was season 2, and to be honest, the Lexus was pretty disappointing for Gary, and he almost gave up with it. Disappeared mid-season, came back, and he actually got it working, but of course he's now in that Scirocco and looking very, very strong. He's teamed up with Mike Comer, but unfortunately Mike had to pull out last minute due to his issues. So it's going to be one car team so far for Gary, but it's early days.
Mark and Craig side by side.
And that's Tom going wide as well. So Tom's now under threat from Luke. Let's have a little look at that. He's actually pulled in behind Tom. So Kieran's
wing mirror there.
Kieran's still in 6th, comfortably. So further up, Heafy's comfortably in 5th. Sorry, you were going to say, Josh?
So a bit of could be an interesting battle if the two KTTC McGanns catch up.
Yeah.
Could be a 7-8 car pack for podium positions, which could be interesting to see.
So
Mark sideways almost.
Yeah. Normally we're seeing Craig at the front, but at the moment it's seems to be still Gary, and Craig opted for the Mustang with Rob, and as you can see on the back of that Mustang in a gold colour is the number 1 with 2 stars, so that represents his wins.
Could only be Craig to do that, couldn't it?
Yeah. So things are settled, and at the moment very, very close.
Looks like Heafy's just dropped back a little bit. And it looks like the KTTC McGanns have caught themselves up a little bit, but Noxie is looking close to battling with the KTTC, and Vamp could catch up and.
He's actually gapped it. It's just got this backpack here, which is where everyone has get from. As soon as you get that gap, it's hard to catch up with the lack of slipstream. But
have to wait to the back straight to catch up, if anything.
Yeah.
Temple speed, we love it.
Still an interesting fight though for the back here. It's all happening between Harry, Joe, Alex, and Rob. So very much all the points to play for. Don't forget Mike Kuipers is not in this race, so it would have been an extra 2 cars to join in, and hopefully Alex McCready can get an extra teammate in to make the 4 grid.
Points could be interesting after this, really, because you've got Gary up front on his own, who could win the race and get back-to-back points for race 1. And then you've got Mark, whose teammate isn't here either, so he's in 3rd. That's also helps with points massively. It could be anything really. Anything can happen at this point.
As you say, it's early days. I mean, obviously, with the new regulations, the balanced performance, they've been doing some testing. A lot of it has been at Monza. So, a few of the other guys have said the fact that each car will be suited to each track. So, this one is very much a case of straight line speed. As Mark Nicol goes a little bit wide there, might allow Darren.
Can he get that position?
He's got that slipstream now.
Yeah, he'll have the position, but will he have it coming into the turn? He will. He kept it.
Oh, but Mark's got it back on the inside. Yeah, he's got the inside. Mark's got it. Oh, it's a little bit of a touch, a little bit of panel rubbing, and now they go down the back straight, and they are very quick
on a straight line. Very quick. Still side by side heading into the chicane. Can they keep it clean? Hopefully. One comes out on top. I think Mark's just pulled back a little bit just to give Daz the line.
It is unfortunate it was Mark's mistake that started it all, but he still retains in 4th. And there's now Tom. Yeah, so if you've seen now, we've got Heathy who's dropped down. So Heathy was behind Mark in 5th, but we've got Tom and Kieran both working together as a team who have got ahead of Heathy, and Heathy's now got Luke Knox on the back of him. So very interesting to see that the 2 KTTC Renaults are on their way forward.
I'm sure we can hear the team strats calling each other out, you know.
Yeah.
Let me past here, I'll let you pass there. Let's catch them up.
Notice the fantastic retro-inspired liveries that are coming out this season. HB Motorsports, a little nod to, well, actually quite a big nod to the Nissan Primera, I think it was, of the BTCC in the mid-90s, so the late 90s. Yeah. So
there's some of the best looking liveries I think I've seen so far in the 4 seasons. So definitely from Mark and Mike, their Scirocco's are looking really good, and the McGann's and the KTTC as well.
I think one of the most interesting ones is that massively bright coloured KNN Fox Racing.
This is probably my favourite livery. Honestly, it looks amazing.
It reminds me of Bubblegum.
Yes, the Bubblegum VW.
Yeah.
See him flashing his lights around. He's overtaken Daz though. I don't know what's happened there.
Yeah, so just maybe down the straight again in the slipstream, but he's actually catching up to Craig now. So as you come down the finish straight, it's actually looking really good for Mark here in 3rd. Everyone seems to be holding position, and you can see how that's difficult for Craig to get round, and that's Heath nearly going wide.
I don't know if anyone, one of the KTTCs went wide there.
Yeah.
So I think that was it was K-Man. Yeah. So Heathy's all over the back of K-Man, and he's could be looking interesting. Could he attempt a little move at the chicane?
Well, he's got that. He's got Kieran right in front of him, and he's got Luke right behind him, and so this is close.
Kieran was really late on the brakes then. A bit of corner cut from Heathy. Trying to keep that advantage, but
to be honest, it is quite difficult to keep off those. He's
hit the wall. Yeah,
he's hit the barrier, so that's really slowed him down. So Luke goes up to 7th, Heathy down to 8th now. So this is slightly disappointing for Heathy. He was running quite up near the front, and he's just gradually dropped down with a few little mistakes. And also note that Joe Burrows was 2nd on the grid when he started this race, and he's down to 9th. So yeah, not happening for HB at the moment, but not the worst case scenario. At the back here, on board with Alex. We always love the fact that the L plates are on the snap-on cars.
Yeah, there you go, just sitting there. Yeah, didn't even realise actually.
But they did well to qualify into the top group after having a tester season together in the BMWs in season 3, and they actually did pretty well towards the end of it. And Joe McCall actually got his first win in the BMW, so therefore
I think in my opinion Joe was probably the best newcomer out of that. He made a statement from early on he gave so many people who have won races, championship, or a few championships in the league to a couple of fights, which is good to see. The newcomers are coming in, giving everyone a challenge. So hopefully we can expect more of that this season. So
we've now got Mark is ahead of Craig, so Craig drops down to third, still on the podium. It's not where we expect him to see. Look at Mark weaving.
We expect. He's on the controller, isn't he? So it's so hard to make these little small adjustments. But
yeah,
Mark is. We know what Mark can do here at Monza, and we know he's dangerous here, especially even on the controller when everyone else is on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that someone on a pad can cause people like Craig damage in position. So it's not where we expect to see Craig, but he could make a comeback in the last 3 laps.
So the KTTC are still together, running 5th and 6th, so working well together, and this will be a good points haul for them if they stay here. It's not up the top, but at the same time they're not separated, so it's going to be a good result for them. A fairly decent start on lap 7 already, so we're actually getting around quite quick. And again, it's really big gap now between Heathy and Joe, with Harry up to 10th and
seems like
Joe McCall.
Seems like the backpack here is slowly catching up to Vamp, so it could be another interesting five-way battle for 9th. So it'll be interesting to see how this all closes out throughout the laps.
It actually looks like they've actually slightly separated, so Harry and Joe here have got slightly ahead. There's a bit of a gap between him and Alex, who's gone fortunately at the back, so Rob's still struggling to get hold of that McGann early into this season. But definitely an interesting race going at the back there. More interestingly, though, Gary is really comfortably leading, and there is a big gap.
Running away with it. He is proper running away with it at the moment. I've never thought in my books I would see Gary in this far ahead. I mean, you've got the likes of Craig, who's in the Mustang again from season 1, who unfortunately came short, didn't he? Just a few technical difficulties in the last round, which had Sam Parker win.
Yeah.
So you think he'd be comfortable with it, but Mark's gone wide there in the dirt, almost sideways. Good recovery though. And Craig is all over the back of him now after taking advantage of it. Daz has dropped back a little bit though.
Now as Tom and Kieran, so no, Tom and Kieran are not together anymore, so Kieran's dropped back. So where is Kieran? Kieran is 8th, so something's happened to Kieran. Something's definitely happened to Kieran, so that's ruined the whole team game. Tom is on his way for, whoa, that was
flying over it.
Rally crossing from Tom. But yep, Kieran down to 8th now, so that's disappointing for him, but this is a good fight that's going on here. There's Harry and Joe, so Harry's caught up with Joe, so Joe is struggling in that Hyundai to keep ahead of these guys. Let's go on board with Alex. And that looks like Joe has...
Joe looking for a gap.
He's gone for the dive.
Attempt to dive. He has a bit of contact with Vamp. He's got the position though. Can Vamp get the position back on the straight? He is in the slipstream and they are very close to each other, so this could be interesting. I mean, Alex is looking very close to joining this little pack here for the second to last lap here, so it could be an interesting battle for 9th place. So hopefully we've got a good battle on our hands. Hopefully clean and a little bit of contact with Harry and Joe. Sideways, Joe coming out of the chicane.
So that's bunched everyone up now. So they're going to be close together. Harry and Joe are going to be side by side. No, they've not. Harry's managed to get ahead. And look at them try to take the slipstream. And
it's like forming a multi-car limo.
Alex is on the inside.
Alex on the side.
Yeah. So he's thinks second of it. And
Harry's
gone wide. Wow. Yeah. So this
Vamp has dropped down to last.
Yeah, he's been pushed down, hasn't he? So that's what happens when you're out of position, and it's hard to kind of keep ahead of everyone. Though, so he's gone board with Joe, who actually runs wide. Yeah. So really struggling now. And interestingly,
as well.
Go on.
Sorry, I've just noticed as well, they've got rid of the 50-metre board, so that must be a horrible corner for everyone else. They don't know usually the 50 board is a breaking point, but with that there, it's bloody difficult.
I was going to say, interestingly, that Joe was a title contender outsider, let's say. He finished 4th or 5th, I think it was 5th in the end from season 3. Right towards the end of the season, he did really well, but he actually struggled at this race at Monza at the beginning of the season, so maybe Monza's just not a good track for Joe Burrows.
I think Monza is one of those tracks for a lot of people where it can either be really good or really bad. So for Gary and Mark, it's been proved that it's a good track for them, for Daz as well, for Craig. And it looks like if we go to the top 3, Tom, looks like Daz has overtaken Mark. And he's hotting on the back of Craig.
So can you believe it? Even with new regulations, new cars, new teams in place, we still have Darren and Craig on the same bit of tarmac fighting. It's not for the lead, and it's not for the title lead at the moment, because it's obviously very early days, but somehow they're just brought together like magnets. This gravitational pull brings them together, and Darren Parker, Craig Kellett are yet again fighting it out. Could this be the sign of things to come for the rest of the season? It's going to be a slightly more long drawn out season, 10 rounds back to what it was in season 2, but across a larger time scale.
Last race is August, isn't it?
Yeah, so a little way to go.
We've got a long season ahead of us, which is it's looking forward to. So Craig holds his position. Daz just slips off a little bit. Can he get him on a straight one? A last lap now. Just remains in the slipstream and hopefully he can catch up and overtake him on the last turn on the hairpin.
It's on the outside. Could he get him? It's looking close. I think he's got him, yeah.
Yeah, Craig's gone wide.
But whilst that's all happening, Gary Black is going to take his first ever win for the KTTC Touring Car Series, and Darren is going to get second, just ahead of Craig then. So we had to move on there for Gary to get his first win, but Mark gets 4th, Tom gets 5th, Luke 6th, Kieran 7th in the end, Stephen Heath was 8th, and then this battle here is still raging on. We've got Harry, who's going to look like he's going to take 9th, and Alex McCready is going to get 10th, just ahead of Rob, with Joe in 12th, and 13th was Joe. Gary Black gets his debut win, then a fantastic race and a fantastic pole position, which will give him an extra point there. Darren Parker gets second with Craig in 3rd, Mark was 4th, Tom was 5th, Luke was 6th with Kieran in 7th, Stephen 8th, Harry 9th, Alex McCready 10th for his debut race, Rob was 11th with Joe McCall in 12th and Joe Burrows in 13th, and of course Mike Comer doesn't actually get to start the race as he had some pretty big issues just before the race. What this means then for the points, it pretty much will stay as it does in the results, with Gary on 21 with his extra point for pole position, Darren in 2nd with 17, Craig in 3rd with 15, Mark 4th with 13, Tom is 5th and 11th. Of course that goes down to Kieran, who gets the extra point for fastest lap, and the rest continue on there. Mike Comer and Mike Kuiper's obviously at the bottom with no points currently after not racing. In the teams, Team Redeem Motorsports in the lead with 24 points. So Darren and Harry doing well so far. And look at that, 2nd, 3rd and 4th pretty much are joint with Elliott, KTTC and MCR Storm all on 20 points there. Snap-on in 5th with K&N, HB and Speedy, which is Alex fielding his own car at the bottom. The Independents has been replaced this season with a brand new Rookie Cup, as obviously everyone is in the team now, and what this means, the Rookie Cup is anyone who hasn't had a win in a previous season. So only 6 cars enter into this from Group A. That's Gary, who is leading with Luke in 2nd, Harry in 3rd, Alex McCready in 4th, and Rob Pellett is in 5th with Mike Comer, who hasn't scored because he didn't race.